The 2023 season has been nothing short of a rollercoaster ride thus far. The Formula One world has been gripped with excitement as the top teams, namely Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes and Aston Martin, have been slugging it out on the track for supremacy. The early stages of the season saw Red Bull racing away from the competition, seemingly light years ahead of their rivals. Meanwhile, the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari found themselves embroiled in crisis, with technical issues and underwhelming performances weighing them down. However, just when we thought we'd seen it all, enter the underdogs, Aston Martin. The plucky team defied all odds and punched above their weight, putting in a series of impressive performances that had the paddock buzzing. And yet, just as we're settling into the narrative of the season, a new contender has emerged from the shadows, Alpine. With the Easter break on the horizon, Alpine seems to have cracked the code and unlocked a new level of performance. The team's recent showings have been nothing short of spectacular, and now they seem poised to challenge the established elite. Rumour has it that Alpine, the team that's been quietly lurking in the shadows, has an aggressive development program in place that could catapult them up the ranks and give the likes of Aston Martin, Mercedes and Ferrari a run for their money. Despite starting off the year as the 5th fastest team, Alpine has been putting in some impressive performances, with Pierre Gasly sticking with Carlos Sainz for a good chunk of the Australian Grand Prix. And now, with substantial upgrades planned for Baku and Imola, they're hoping to bridge the gap to the top teams and gain a much needed 0.6 of a second. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows for Alpine. With a cost cap looming over their heads, they may have to prioritise spare parts over upgrades for the time being. It's a game of dependencies, as Otmar Safnauer put it, but the team remains optimistic that they can at least keep up with the development pace of their rivals. Safnauer said, "It's not yet a problem for the cost cap, even though the accident cost us dearly," he added. "But the accident has shifted the priorities. For now, we need spare parts for Baku. You don't just rebuild things like a front wing in a fortnight. We still have to check whether that has an influence on whether we can bring our development package to its full extent." Now, with the much anticipated return of the Chinese Grand Prix falling through, a massive gap has opened up between the Australian and Azerbaijan rounds. And while this gap is usually reserved for the August summer break, team bosses are calling for it to become a regular feature of the F1 calendar. With a record-breaking 23 races on the schedule this year and plans in place for additional qualifying sessions on sprint race weekends, the pressure on F1's workforce has never been greater. And that's where the extended break comes in, providing some much-needed downtime for the hard-working teams. According to Otmar Safnauer, this unscheduled break could be a way forward for F1, suggesting that it be incorporated into the calendar in future seasons. He argues that the break in March, the traditional August break, and the Christmas break would provide a much-needed respite for teams amidst a grueling schedule of back-to-backs and triple headers. It's not just about the start of the season either. As Safnauer points out, teams have been working tirelessly throughout the winter to prepare for testing and the opening races. A bit of downtime now will help them recharge their batteries and prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. Haas team boss Günther Steiner is not fazed by the disruption and is adamant that his team's car upgrades will proceed as scheduled. Despite this, he agreed with Safnauer's observation that this extended break will provide his hard-working personnel with some well-deserved rest before the upcoming European races leading up to the summer break after the Belgium GP in July. Steiner explained, "Our development plan was already established prior to this unexpected hiatus, so it doesn't affect our plans. However, the break is more for the race team to recharge their batteries. They can now take a breather and relax a bit, as the rest of the season is going to be extremely grueling." He also emphasised the importance of utilising this break to make improvements and gather more data, particularly for those who had planned to debut new components in China. With more time to prepare and refine, Haas could use this setback as an opportunity to enhance their performance for the remaining races. Overall, despite the setback caused by the Chinese GP's cancellation, Steiner is optimistic that the Haas team can make the most out of this extended break and come back stronger and more prepared than ever. With Pierre Gasly making a major switch from AlphaTauri to Alpine, the 2021 Italian Grand Prix winner had a rather underwhelming start with his new team, as he was slapped with a last place qualifying result in Bahrain after crossing track limits. However, he was able to salvage a P9 finish in the race and followed it up with another 9th place result in Saudi Arabia, trailing his teammate Esteban Ocon. According to Alpine team boss Otmar, Gasly has requested some patience from the team as he familiarises himself with the car setup and engineering team. He's new and it takes time, Safnauer said, adding that Gasly enjoys working with the team and vice versa. While he has shown pace, there's still room for improvement as he gets comfortable with the team. Gasly himself has expressed confidence that there's more to come from him, stating, "Give me a couple more races and there's a couple of tenths in me." Alpine has set its sights on holding on to 4th place in the Constructors' Championship while nipping at the heels of Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari. However, the French team has fallen behind in the race, currently sitting in 5th place with a measly 8 points. By contrast, Ferrari's in 4th with 26 points and Aston Martin has taken an early lead in 2nd place. To catch up, Alpine is relying on its upgrade packages aimed at out-developing other teams. Asked to evaluate progress, Gasly said, "I wouldn't say that I'm pleased because we obviously want to fight higher up the grid and it feels like so far we're a bit in no man's land behind the top 4 teams. I had a bit of the midfield behind us even though it's close, but we're still chasing and trying to get closer to those front runners. But generally, I think it's been an okay start, a decent start, but as a team we want to be fighting for bigger points." He added, "It's just a matter of time until we see new parts coming on the car, and obviously there's also this part of understanding between the team and myself, really understanding what I need out of a race car to extract the maximum of it. It's only been 2 races, and as I say, decent, but generally speaking, the overall performance hasn't been as good as we aim for, and we'll work to make that better over the next few races." Now, to climb higher up the grid, Gasly believes that the team needs to get a better understanding of what he needs from the car to extract the most from it. He's hopeful that with more time, new parts and improved communication with the team, they'll be able to close the gap and start fighting for bigger points. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it seems that Alpine's path to success may take a little more time than anticipated. Alpine is looking promising, and we can expect to see another Aston Martin join the grid. But the real question is whether they can keep up with the other top teams. With upgrades on the horizon, it's anyone's guess who will come out on top. And speaking of upgrades, Mercedes is one team that desperately needs to get their act together. After a disastrous start to the season, they're throwing in the towel on their initial concept design and opting for something more popular, similar to Red Bull's approach. And Aston Martin have done the same, which has irked Horner, who accused them of copying Red Bull's design. But for Mercedes, all they care about is speed, and if that means adopting a similar design to their rivals, so be it. So what do you guys think about all of this? Could we potentially see a new dark horse emerge and shake up things in the championship? Or is it just wishful thinking for Alpine? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and while you're at it, smash that like button and hit subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest F1 news and analysis.